Hello, in this video, I'm going to show you how to perform a Booking.com switchover, or in other words, how to connect a channel connector property ID to an existing listing in Booking.com. So the first step would be to select Booking.com. Then we have to select yes, because if you have existing properties or existing listings in Booking.com, we can assume that you already have a Booking.com account. Then you have to select the cancellation policy that you already have in the channel or the one that you prefer now, and then click on Start Connection Process. Now we're going to be redirected to the step 2 authorization. This step is informative, and this step will show us how to select channel connector as the connectivity provider for each one of your Booking.com listings. Please note that this is a process that needs to be done per property in the Booking.com extranet. But if you have more than 25 listings, it's very possible that the Booking.com team can show you how to do it in bulk. Okay, so in order to do this step, like I previously mentioned, you have to access your Booking.com extranet. You have to go to the account icon and select connectivity provider. When you select connectivity provider, then you have to type in channel connector and you have to request the connection. Here you will have all these steps, so you can check them whenever you want. Once you select channel connector as your connectivity provider, then actually that triggers a request to us. And this step is manual. I have to mention this, that it's manual, so you will request a connection and that will trigger a notification on our end, on the channel connector end, and someone in channel connector needs to confirm the connection or needs to accept the connection request. As I previously mentioned, is manual. Someone in channel connector needs to do it. So please, every time you request the connection for a Booking.com listing, please contact or send an email to our customer service team to request that they accept the connection. Once they accept the connection, we can proceed with the next step. Okay. Another important thing that I want to mention here is the LEID. If you have seen the other videos about the creation of new builds for Booking.com, I mentioned that the LEID is very important. You need to have the LEID or legal entity ID for the creation of new builds. However, if we're talking about switchovers, you can actually skip this step. It's not entirely necessary to enter the LEID if you're doing switchovers. However, please note that if you don't put in here the LEID, yes, we can do a switchover. Yes, we can do the connection, but it will only be a rates and availability connection. This means that we will be able to send rates, availability, taxes, fees, cancellation policy. So everything that has to do with that quote. However, content like photos, like amenities, it won't be possible if we don't have the LEID. Okay, so once we complete this step of requesting the connection and then asking through an email to the channel connector support team to accept it, then we can go to the next step. Okay, In this step 3, you will have all the instructions on how and where to gather the channel IDs that you are going to require to perform the connection or the mapping in step 5. I have another video where I will be showing you as well where to retrieve these IDs, because the screenshots are a little bit smaller here. But anyway, you have all the instructions in this step 3. Then we can go to the next step. Next step 4, this is the validation. To validate a property, you just have to check the property and click on validate. Okay. And what this will do is that it will tell you if the property meets all the channel minimum requirements or not. As well, I mentioned in the other video about the creation of new builds that this step is very important for new builds because it will tell you if the property will fail during the creation process. However, for switchovers, it's not that necessary because we can assume that all the content exists already on the channel. So you can actually skip this step if you want. However, I always recommend to validate the properties to make sure that they have all the required content. In this case, for example, as you can see, if the property does not meet the minimum channel requirements, you will have this error icon. You can click on it and you can see what the error is. For example, in this case, it says that there is a character in the property name that it's not available for the channel. Usually booking.com, they don't booking.com is a channel that they don't accept characters like this one, for example. So the parenthesis is not supported by booking.com. And well, that's what this error means. However, like I previously said, if we are going to do a switchover, well, the name of the property already exists on the channel, so you don't, in this case for switchover, you don't really need to fix this. If it is a new build, definitely yes, because you will get an error message during the creation. Perfect. So once we complete the validation, please also note that once a property is validated, you will see a check mark like this one, and you will see in here the date and the time of the last validation. Once we complete this step, we can go to the next one. In this step 5, for a switchover, I'm going to click on the Connect tab. Please go to the Connect tab. Okay? And in here, we're going to enter the property channel IDs that we previously gathered in step 3. In order to enter these IDs, we are going to click on the property, and then we have to enter the channel property ID, the channel room ID, and the channel rate ID of the property. Once you enter these 3 channel property IDs, then you can click on Save. Like I also mentioned, there is another video where I will show you how to or where to get these IDs. However, all that information is also located and explained in the step 3. Once you complete the mapping, then you can go to the next step. Just to show you, a mapping looks like this. So this is the channel property ID, this is the channel room ID, and this is the channel rate ID. Then we can go to next. In this step, here is where we are going to open the property. So once we complete the mapping in step 5, now we have to actually push rates and availability and open the property. In order to open the property, what we have to do is to click on the toggle that it's next to it. It says request to open. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to click to request to open the property. Then we will see that the status will change to pending channel approval, and the property will stay in this status approximately 5 to 10 minutes. After those 5 to 10 minutes, two things will happen. Either the property will get opened, or we will receive an error message saying why it couldn't get opened. If the property is opened, it will look something like this. So the toggle will be bright blue, and the status next to it is closed property, because this is actually the next possible action because the property is now open. If this fails, it will look something like this. So the toggle will go back to request to open, and you will see the error message in here. And here you will see why the property couldn't get opened. Please know that if you get an error message, you can always come in here and try it again. So in this case, for example, it says that the LEID, or the legal entity ID that we added in step 2, is invalid, or there's not a contract with the Booking.com team. So in that case, in this situation, for example, what we would need to do is to contact the Booking.com team, because there's definitely a problem with the contract on their end. And then once we fix the situation with them, we can come back to the wizard. We can actually go directly to distribution summary. This is a shortcut. You can go to distribution summary. You can click on the Booking.com icon, and then it will bring you to the step 6 directly, and you can click again to request to open and try to open now the property. Once the properties are open, you just click on finish, and well, this is the process for a Booking.com switchover. I hope this helps. Thank you very much.